there, welcome back. Today I'm going to look at Cutthroat Island in the what the hell is this category. Cutthroat Island is a notorious film, I got it cheap when I was buying something else from Amazon France, so that's why I've got the 4K. I wasn't going to buy the 4K like full price or anything, but I got it. It's like you're buying one and you can get another one pretty much for almost nothing. The way the offer works out. So you're really buying one film, but you get the other one really cheap. So that's how I got this one. Just in case you think I'm totally insane. I'm not that insane. But yeah, so I managed to get a 4K of this. It's absolutely ridiculous, and it's not very good, but it is bizarrely enjoyable in a kind of Renny Harlin in the 90s way, which is what it is. Basically, this is a film made after Harlin had made a couple of big hits. He'd come off Nightmare on Elm Street 4 Remaster, and it was the next big thing. And then he went on to, after a bomb with Fantastic Four failing, he bounced back with Die Hard 2 and Cliffhanger. Now, Cliffhanger is the better of the two films. Die Hard 2 is pretty mechanical, but they're both big hits. So at this point, he was as big as he was ever going to get in Hollywood. So he developed this pirate movie. At the same time, he also signed up for The Long Kiss Goodnight that Shane Black wrote, which also starred Gina Davis, and it was filmed when this film was released. And it was basically they wanted to switch over to that other film and not do this one, because this film had a lot of script problems, but they couldn't, so they ended up making both. And so you had one film, Long Kiss Goodnight, which is a lot of fun. It's really enjoyable. It's got a good silly script and a decent setup. It works. It's one of those films I can happily go back to. That and Cliffhanger are Harlan's probably his best films. Cutthroat Island is the other Harlan, the Renny Harlin who would go on in the 2000s to make Driven and, Exorcist the Beginning. Basically someone who's making total dreck and has no control over storytelling and is just throwing stuff at the screen. I mean, in between all this dreck, he also made the enjoyable dreck of Deep, what do you call it, was that shark movie? The shark movie where the sharks get smarter for genetic, Deep Blue Sea. But generally, since Long Kiss Goodnight, it's been a downward spiral into, like, insanity. I mean, I enjoy Driven for how garbage it is. I mean, it's really garbage, but kind of enjoyably cliched. But he's made some real howlers like Legends of Hercules. I mean, it's not a career that has gone well. But and this was like the first like real sign of what happens when you let Renny Harlin be in charge of the script of a film, rather than having other people develop the script with him and keep him on rails. Like in the previous films, in Nightmare on Elm Street, he had New Line and different writers keeping him on track. In some of his early studio films, he had Joe Silver keeping him on track. Then he went to Coral Cole, which had just done Terminator 2 and Basic Instinct and things like that, and he had an experienced team keeping him on track. This is the first time he was like the big guy in charge of the film. And the film wasn't going well, and they did try and pull the plug. I mean, it's not like it was like they were going into the film saying, look, everything's solved, we're good, we're great. No, it was like, this might not work, but maybe we should just not do it. Maybe we should take the losses, cut the losses, and not do it because the script isn't working. Michael Douglas was meant to be in the film, and he pulled out because the script wasn't working, and you can see why. There's nothing for his character, the character he was going to play. It's now played by Matthew Modine because everyone else turned it down. And Matthew Modine is a character actor. He's good in some films. He's actually the best thing in this film, because he just thinks, okay, I'm playing a cowardly con man. I'll just go with it. I'll just have some fun. And he's the best thing in the film because he's having fun. And he doesn't even try and have that much of an accent. Gina Davis is going back and forward trying to have an accent, and it kills her performance most of the time, because whenever they let her be relaxed, she's fun, and then when they have her be like serious, it's not fun. It's just strange. It's like it's not a consistent performance. It's like they've changed their mind halfway through the film. But what she should be doing. And it's like, why would you ever not just let her be herself? They'd have made the film a lot better. So that's just strange as well. It's a star vehicle, you're not letting the star be themselves. It's just odd. But the film itself has no momentum. It goes from place to place, getting clues and getting things, and doing these action scenes. But all the action scenes, it's not like action scenes are driven by a strong MacGuffin or a strong sense of these action scenes are worth it in themselves. No, they're just cluttered action scenes. And a lot of the time you've got scenes where they're trying to show that the actors are in shot doing this thing, when in fact the actors look terrified and probably wish they'd a stunt person doing this thing, or they're clumsy and they can't move the way a stunt person can move. So you've got one scene where Jane Davis has to jump over, is on her carriage, she has to jump, run through this area, have a fight, and then jump back in the carriage. Now that has to go at lightning speed to make it work, and it's clunky as hell, and it's like, does the carriage have to move that slow so she can do the stunt? And that happens all the time in the film. It's just like, you've got stunt people, let stunt people do their job. It's just like clunky a lot of the time. And the action doesn't have that much verve and direction, especially on the water. Now this film came out 6 months after Waterworld. This is the film that it didn't cost as much as Waterworld, but we see Waterworld compared to this. Waterworld is a much better film because Waterworld actually has a director who knows how to do action scenes on water, which is a big thing. In this film, you have lots of moving cameras and you have lots of explosions, but there's not much momentum for the action going forward. You have little gags that are fun, but it's like getting the gags to actually make sense in story terms in an action scene. That's not happening. It's just a bunch of gags in an action scene. And every 15 minutes the film stops, mainly because of probably cut out so much to keep the action moving, because they don't want too much dialogue scenes, because you don't want the actors saying so much in a dodgy accent. So you have lots of momentum for things happening, but it doesn't really mean anything. There's not much weight to it. Even the revelations of what's going on, why couldn't they find these maps, what's going on with the maps when you get there to get to Cutthroat Island, what's the payoff to all this stuff. None of it's that interesting. It's just like, yes, blah. It's like, we've seen it before in other pirate movies in the 50s that did it a lot better, because they just let the actors be ridiculous and be fun, which is a thing that Pirates of the Caribbean, which came out like, I'd say 8 years later, did. They obviously looked at this film and said, okay, we're not doing that. Let's hire people with personalities and let them go, and don't care about the accents. Or in the case of Pirates of the Caribbean, they hired English actors and said, do the swashbuckling thing, but you've got your own accent, so you don't have to be awkward with it. And they also hired Johnny Depp to be really weird, and Johnny Depp in those films brought all the personality this film lacks. I mean, the Pirates of the Caribbean films, they're not the most brilliantly plotted films. They have revelations and twists and turns, but most of the time they get by with character actors doing pirate shit. That's what they do. That's their thing. That's why they're enjoyable. This film doesn't have that. This film just has these action scenes. It's like, do-do-do-do-do-do. Let's have this other action scene. Do-do-do-do-do-do. It's interesting. It's okay. It's enjoyable for all the gags, but why are you fighting? Because some minor person noticed someone wasn't what they said they should be. And we've had this massive fight that destroys half a town. And what have we got from this? What's the actual plot progression of this action scene? Nothing. Nothing's happened. It's like there's so many times where it's literally someone gets a bit of a map, someone gets a bit of a map. That's the only plot point in the action scene, and you've got these action scenes where they're trying to get the map, and that's the MacGuffin of the action scene, but it's not done in a way that's really witty. It's just done with this sense of overblown 90s action thing where everything's blown up, and Matthew Dean's really trying to be funny and be silly in this thing, and he's the only one person who seems to have watched tons of pirate movies don't understand you have to be a bit ridiculous in this stuff to make it work. So whenever he's on screen, it tends to be better because he understands what film he's in. Frank Langella, the villain, also understands what film he's in. But they're the only two people who really do. The rest of the cast tends to be kind of very kind of bland, and the action stuff is fun, but it's bland. The thing is, I would say about this film is it's more enjoyable than the last two Pirates films, though. Pirates of the Caribbean 4 and 5 were a bit like this film, where there's a lots of mindless action. When Gore Verbinski left the Pirates series, it lost a big thing where it was someone who understood the genre. And those other films following are kind of like this one, but they had Johnny Depp to keep it going. And they had some other actors like Ian McShane and stuff to keep it going. But they had the same feeling of this, where there's lots of things going on, but it doesn't really mean much. At least they had funnier scenes. And this one had probably better action scenes in those films, but they're both kind of like weightless, mega budget productions that ultimately you made you think, I could have watched something better. And that's the problem with this film, is it's not terrible, it's not the worst film ever made. It's one of those ones that are just there. It's just like, there's no way this film could have made much money. There's no way it could get the word of mouth it needed to be a hit. I mean, the Waterworld that came out not long before it had a bigger hurdle to cover because it cost more. But at least it was released and it got some word of mouth and people went to see it, and it made decent money overseas and in America, and it slowly brought its money back in just over time because they actually put some effort into the actual, like, there's action scenes, but the action scenes have to have a meaning within the film. Like, one action scene leads to another. You know, this one, it's just tons of action. So it's okay. It's like one of those films, if you've done anything better to it, you could watch, but it's not one you want to seek out. The explosions are nice. The atmosphere of it being lots of skeletons and things was well done, but all that kind of supposed reality goes against the atmosphere they're trying to do as a swashbuckler. So it's like, it's not quite balanced in any possible way. It just feels kind of off. You know, and it doesn't. This was released just at the same time as Showgirls, which is the other Carrico film. Both those films killed the company. But Showgirls had the camp value that made it a film that it keeps on being revisited by lots of people. Like, and it cost a lot less than this film did, and it probably made more. I think it did make more. It was more of an MGM film too. But I mean, the thing was, it wasn't even the best bomb that Cargo had that last year of his life. That's the big thing, is you didn't even bomb best in this year for your company. That's the ultimate insult for a film. But yeah, I mean, it's okay. It's just nothing great. I mean, if you want to see a Gina Davis film from that era, go see The Long Kiss Goodnight. It's so much better. It's got a script. It's got action that actually makes sense. You know, and it's a lot of fun. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll be back later with other ones. That's me for now. Bye.